Activities Committee. Today, the 23rd of April, and Karakia from Councillor Tupara.
Morena te whare, ka te wau e tīmata tātou nei hui e Karakia po te tēnei tāro rangi nui e tuake nei, tēnei tāro papatuanuku, tēnei tāro rangi rā o ko papa e takoto nei. Kia ara rau te tapu ai o tāne ki raro tēnei tapu o nau mai te ao. Ka rangati e te au e piri, ka rangati e ko tāne e piri e tata, waka maua ki tīna.
Whainga.
Hui e tā.
Thank you. I'll just start by welcoming everybody here, and online we have Councillor Tibble and Line, and just remind everybody to turn their cell phones off. And do we have any apologies?
Councillor Uriwai for lateness. She'll join us at 10 o'clock.
Thank you.
I'm happy to move.
You'll move that?
But yes, also for lateness. She's on her way.
Okay. And moved by Mayor Stoltz, seconded by Councillor Miller. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Any declarations of interest with today's agenda?
Tairāwhiti River, affected by Tairāwhiti River.
Councillor Order. And we'll move on to confirmation of the non-confidential minutes, which you would have all received in your email and had a chance to go through.
I'm happy to move the minutes.
Okay, Councillor Ria, did you have a question? Moved by Mayor Stoltz, seconded by Councillor Ria, Deputy Mayor. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Righto. Then we've got our action register, which answers a few questions from our last meeting. Thank you for those. And the governance work plan, we've got plenty coming up. Is there any questions on that? No. So, any leave of absence? No. Acknowledgements and tributes? No. There's no public input and petitions today. No extraordinary business. No notices of motion, no adjourned business. So we're going to get straight into our first report. We've got 3 reports here today, followed by a couple of workshops after the meeting. They are all motion reports. The first one is the museum annual report, and Chair.
I did see Tapunga and Powder, so the chair just arrived.
Okay.
Second time, gentlemen, where's Thomas?
We have Museum Director Tapunga Nepi and the Chair Pāroa Tibble coming to be with us this morning for this item on the agenda.
Come and follow me. We'll get some lovely chairs over here. I'll leave you in the capable hands of Huri, our chair. Kia ora, morena.
Welcome. We're just up to your annual report. So I will take this as read, and is there anything that you two would like to talk to in relation to this annual report?
Some highlights.
Sure.
Kia ora tātou, Paul Tibble, Chair of the Tairāwhiti Museum Board. Actually, looking at the report, I've just realised I've been a year in this role as the chair, so it's been a real privilege to serve our community, being chair of the board to work alongside Tapunga and his great team at the museum there. Just thought I'd just share a few highlights just in the last few months. I've got all the stuff from the report from back in the last year, but it goes like this. So I guess one of the highlights was signing off on the GDC lease and services agreement. Thank you very much to the team here, for our mayor, the head, and the dean. It's that thing about like, the roof works development, which keeps the collection of our taonga and our exhibitions safe and dry. And that was a really, I guess, great preparation for the return of Hene Matioro from Germany, which we took up to Tolaga Bay a few weeks ago. And actually now it's in storage in a safe, good environment for this taonga. Also another highlight was UNESCO recognition of the Williams Crawford photography collection. And it's worldwide recognition of our taonga. So just I think the taonga of Te Tairāwhiti are in good hands. And just really want to thank you all for your support. If you have any questions, please ask away, otherwise I'll hand it over to our director, Tapuma Nepe.
Just to touch on the report specifically, I suppose the report is that our visitor numbers was a highlight, 56,108 visitors in comparison to last year. Also our education program was another highlight, 9,451, so we achieved our target. And also satisfaction from within the community, 91%. Controlling costs while achieving non-financial targets, and establishing a framework, as Paul has mentioned, in regards to long-term maintenance of the building. I'm just going to share some photographs because, as Paul has mentioned, we are very grateful for the relationship with GDC and moving forward. And it's been, I would say, more than over 20 years now, I would say, that the roof has been a concern for us in regards to our taonga, long-term care of our taonga. So I was going to share some photos of the progress that's happened. If you see on the front page there, I hope there's enough. If you can see at the front there is the major valley where, to be honest, there was a major leak that was happening in the main gallery, and our staff were very nervous when we had exhibition openings because we were just waiting for it to burst. But now we've fixed that issue, and thanks to GDC with the support of the roof work, and there's been a continuous flow of the work. Next week we start the renewal of the front entrance and also the watersheds gallery. So our staff have been working towards the relocation of the taonga from that gallery exhibition that's been up for some time. So after that work's done, then we can redevelop our social history, stories of Tairāwhiti. And with Hene Matioro being returned, we can share those kind of more localised kōrero as well. So I just want to highlight the work and the relationship with GDC in regards to the roof. Kia ora tātou.
So I'll open it up to our committee if there's any questions or comments. Councillor Gibson.
Kia ora kōrua. Firstly, awesome report. I'm so proud of our museum and what we're achieving, particularly in our rangatahi space. It's amazing to see how much of our collection is accessible and how much of our mātauranga has been communicated through the museum, so thank you for that. I have one question just as a first-term councillor. I don't know these things. My question is around the GDC appointment for museum. We have, it looks like we've got one representative here at the moment and one is still left open, is that correct?
Yes, so I think our next hui is to discuss that. I think it's in May.
So the appointment process for the museum is guided by the museum trust deed, and so the council's board appointment process doesn't override what the museum trust deed is. So what we do in this case is the standard practice has been that the museum identifies the skills and attributes it needs to fill that vacancy. They make a recommendation to us. That recommendation will then come to council.
Thank you.
Councillor Alden.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you for the report. Great to see the improvement in costs, the savings that's been made there, and we really appreciate that effort because it helps decrease our contributing fee. you're kind of stuck with what you get in the income side, and that's where we are here to fill that gap. One question, last year I was quite critical about the CAF income, and I was looking for it and I can't see it, to see whether there's been any improvement in revenue from the CAF.
The response there is probably for the next financial year. So that's something we'll be looking at.
So there has been an improvement in cash flow from the CAF or not?
Definitely.
Definitely.
If I can just say the CAF, like the education program, is also part of the museum. We're getting a lot of numbers of community members coming along to our CAF, but also the education program. I will want to highlight too how important the education program in that same phase is that I feel our tamariki mokopuna within that space that keeps our museum a living space in our taonga and artefacts kind of practical and
Ms. Stoltz, did you have a...
Yes, I just wanted to take this opportunity on behalf of Council to thank you for the great work you have done, and thank you for the very proactive relationship that you've developed over the last while. It is very important for us to work closely together, and I also want to acknowledge the work. We have been talking about the roof forever, so it is fantastic, and also thank you to Penny and the team and everyone involved in negotiating contracts and doing all that work. Nothing just happens. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, so I wanted to just acknowledge that. And I also want to acknowledge the role that Tairāwhiti Museum played in the return of Hene Mateoro. It was a beautiful morning in Chihuahua, and now you will have a nice dry space to make sure our taonga, and there will be more, will be looked after. So just on behalf of councillors and GDC, I do want to thank you, and I look forward to also working with you to decide who else is in the board. And I'm very happy to move this report.
Councillor Tupara.
I'd like to congratulate the museum on covering off all aspects of its business. Not only front of house, but back of house, but top of house as well. And certainly as a business doing reasonably well compared to some of the other activities council's involved with. So that's a big also to acknowledge the museum's boldness in taking on some difficult issues for our community, particularly the waiting a heka issue, something that in my parents' time would never have happened. And so I appreciate the boldness of our whare carrying that for community, hoho te rongo, bringing some of that spirit back, which we badly needed from the top of the place to the bottom. So I really appreciate the effort that went in. I understood quite an amount of effort.
Second.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if there are no other comments or questions, the paper has been, recommendation note this report has been moved by Mayor Stoltz and seconded by Councillor Tupara. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Okay, if everybody can go to page 64, the second item on the agenda, which is the Tairāwhiti Sustainable Land Use Transition paper by Rod Sheridan in the Recovery Office. Not here today, but the CEO.
Thank you, through the chair. So this is just an update report on where we're at following the production of the Sustainable Land Use Business Case. What it outlines is, what you would have seen was a letter that was received in response to that business case from Mr. McCloy, basically saying there's not enough funding at this time to support the business case. We then had quite a few people lobbying and activations around within Tairāwhiti that left that door open for further conversations. So officials had reached out to us to say, okay, so what else, how could we do this in a lesser cost basis, basically? And what we did is looked at what was currently underway. So many of you will be aware that we have the Tairāwhiti Forestry Action Group that was set up as part of the Cyclone Gabrielle woody debris cleanup funding that we received. And that in that group there was an underspend, primarily because of subsequent weather events that saw areas that had been originally mapped, the woody debris had moved and probably ended up on the beach somewhere. So that left some funding that officials were quite open to working with us around whether there is a refocused version of the Tairāwhiti Forestry Action Group that could deliver on the sustainable business case. So we met over a week ago with the Tairāwhiti Action Group and the Tairāwhiti Forestry Action Group to talk about how we might be able to refocus. And both groups were really quite supportive of the direction of travel, which is some merger of the groups in advisory capacity to then refocus from picking up woody debris to being more focused on the resilience and planting side. So this is really just outlining where we've got to. It's still a work in progress and we're still having conversations with officials to just secure some of that funding or redirect the funding into the sustainable land use transition. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Gibson.
Firstly, like super supportive of the urgency in pushing this land use forward. Like, it's awesome, great initiative and very pragmatic. I just think the devil's in the detail a little bit. My question is around transitioning the TFA group to a leadership group focused on transition. And my question is around am I correct that most of the members of that group are ministerial employees and representative of industry and don't represent the diversity of our tag and the wider issues that support this transition? So my question would be, does a membership of the leader group, does it sit with our current appointees in the TFAG group, or is there an opportunity to choose those leaders in a way that is representative of the whole problem?
Yeah, so through the chair, that is a key piece around a revised delivery model, and that you've got representation across the different areas. One of the key things we found from the tag was the diversity of the views that were contributing to our major issue in our region created a really great outcome. On the TFA group currently, there are two GDC representatives, that's Rod and Kerry Hudson. There's an iwi representative to forestry, so forestry, the EWC and the Forestry Contractors Association, and then a farming representative. We would refresh the advisory, the governance group to have a broad range of representation views. One of the things that was really clear in the sustainable land use business case was the need for really skilled, diverse thinkers at a board level. If we were to stand up a CCO, we would still take the principles across into what a new revised group.
Thank you.
Councillor Parata.
Thank you for the update. I acknowledge government's current position in being unable, unwilling to find what we need in terms of this really essential mahi. And I also understand the pivot that council is doing at the moment, trying to move as many things along as we possibly can within the parameters of our current circumstances. I wonder, however, if the aspiration and commitment for the project remains, and whether or not we continue as a council to seek and leverage opportunities where and when possible, or have we completely decided to refocus? Like, I just kind of wonder.
Yeah. So the aspirations, so in order to kind of move here and keep faith with the action group, the Tairāwhiti advisory group, we have tried to, as much as possible, transplant into a mini version all the principles and objectives and direction of travel as a sustainable business case. So what it means, though, is that we're not having a CCO because there's a lot of other costs in that. We already have a group that's been doing the work with contractors through the woody debris, so we've kind of got that set up, and we've also got Perry's and his team that are doing the land management, so we'll utilise more in-house work of resources. And so what we're trying to do is let's try and do a smaller version. Let's make a start and see if we can get some pilots going as well that will help us upscale if and when the available funding comes. And so we're not just relying on government to help support this.
Can I have a supplementary? I think it's incredible. I think it's real innovation for our region, and I think we're really leading the way for the entire country and probably globally. I have a suggestion in terms of the capture of that. I think because the Gisborne District Council, along with the advisory group, have been so dedicated to this mahi, the opportunity to capture it in as many ways as there are to capture, one, the journey, to the process and the outcomes. I think that will be huge learnings, not just for us and not just to lobby central government to give us more money to do the bigger projects and the more sustainable projects, but also for archival purposes that generations and successive councils after us can see the effort and work that we've got into to this point, and then they can hopefully make some very similar decisions going forward. But thank you for the work. I'm happy to move the paper.
Thanks, Councillor Muir.
Yeah, it's great to hear the progress happening now and efforts to get things underway. My concern in there is that piece around getting pine trees off highly erodible steep slopes, and the fact that we haven't been able to get consent issued for removing trees up the Tairāwhiti that threaten our own water supply infrastructure. And we've missed another opportunity through this summer for that to happen. So I'm just wondering what the situation is there, how we're going to make that happen.
So my understanding is that work is now underway.
Te Arai,
And train.
Te Arai, we're still working through some consent challenges and engagement with community, including mana whenua. We're talking about large willows.
Woody debris,
The pines that are
trees.
steep slopes.
The Section 330. Section 330, we are still working through our working plan with the operators on the land, so the forestry companies, to promote that work to be undertaken as soon as possible. But there's still some work to do in getting those operational plans over the line. At the moment, trying to get the documentation in place.
But further to your point in terms of the consent process, so that piece just on the Tairāwhiti emergency works. There's a consent that we're working through. We don't see that there, I think that one's pretty straightforward, Tim, that consent. But there is a wider question around where these other consents are. I know that's been raised before. I can't answer that at this stage. I've got the information, and Jocelyn isn't here to give us that. But I will say is it also needs to be put within the context of the wider land use change plan change that we've put to Minister to approve. So we had so the plan change 6, which you're aware of, the other plan change that we requested was we wanted to do a sustainable land use plan change, and that will deal with some of these issues around transition where there's a big question mark over if I'm going to remove these trees, am I going to be prosecuted after if there's a near time of vulnerability, for example. So that's part of the impact of the other land use. But more specifically, I think some more information around the consents. Currently, what's in the system that deals with those types of issues, if there are any.
Are there any more questions? Councillor Tairāwhiti.
Yeah, I think this is another classic example of we need momentum. We saw it yesterday, an example yesterday with GHL presentation of getting in and cleaning these beaches up, and the whole lift that gives the community is transformational. And I think this has been going on for a long time now. You know, we're 3 years down the track since the cyclone and the damage and everything else, and we need some momentum. We need something to start happening so people can say, hey, there is an avenue to get these trees off these hills. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're talking to the forestry companies or the actual on-the-ground harvesters. There's a huge frustration about being able to get onto this land and remove. They want to get these trees off the land, this vulnerable land, so then we can deal with it, how we deal with it afterwards. But we've got to get that happening. It just seems to be going on too long. We need momentum.
Thank you, Councillor Tairāwhiti. If there are no more questions or comments, could I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Gibson.
Winnie wanted to move.
Oh, I moved it.
And
Sorry.
I'll second now if that's okay.
Okay, moved by Councillor Parata, seconded by Councillor Gibson. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. And we're zooming through this agenda. Our last noting paper is about land, rivers and coastal. And we are here to help answer our questions. Take this report as read. Did anybody want to introduce this paper?
Oh yeah, I'm Mangala, I'm the team leader. So this paper is on ongoing issues and current progress. Basically, we have a contract with Fulton Hogan to do the maintenance. I'm in charge of the maintenance work, not capital work. So this is the progress of the, when we submit the report by February, our current progress is 72.5%. So we are just above our targets, and but generally the weather conditions were pretty bad, so spraying cycle was behind schedule, but we are catching up. So at the end of the year we are on track, and we spent all our budget and achieve all the targets at the current trend care. And there are a few items outside Gisborne region in East Coast, like streams in Nukuta Harawa stream. There had been many issues in the recent past, but it's a Inanga spawning area, so we can't dig up or do anything at the moment. But I have included in the next year work program, and it will be done in October, definitely.
Thank you very much for that. Does anybody have any questions?
It's the same as usual, really. I just around the page 77, now my computer stuff. 77, just around the, the amount of work we're getting in cleaning these drains out with having to double handle the spoil for eels. I think we've just got to look at another way of doing that. The option to fix it can't just be we need more money all the time because we haven't got a lot of money. So we've got to actually look at some way of doing something different, and it just doesn't seem to be working. And also query the comment there on page 78, point 18b, around the increase in the traffic management working along the roads, because hasn't that always been there? And I thought we were actually trying to reduce the amount of traffic management we had. So there's a few things there in our process I think we have to have a look at. It's not just to achieve more kilometres of trains. We can't just keep operating at 5 kilometres and before we're achieving.
The report highlights that year on year with budgetary constraints mean we regrade 5%. We think that's suboptimal. We need to be doing about double that. There's a productivity element and a budget limitation, which is a hard barrier to doing more than that. So that's just something we wanted to bring to the attention of Council.
I would like to add to that. When we did Makeretu, we did regrades 1.1 kilometers, and that cost, except consenting issues, the physical, work cost 31,000. So 1.1 kilometers. So it's in the range of per kilometer about 25,000. Like drainage rates for each drainage district, we get in the range of 30,000. We can do only 1 kilometer with the targeted rates we receive. So spraying cycle costs 23,000 average, and it's a huge challenge for us to manage and satisfy customers, because they all complain you do that and likewise. So, but with the limited budget, we have to satisfy everybody. We are doing bits and pieces everywhere. So we need a different approach, definitely.
Councillor Ria.
Kia ora, thank you for the report. My question is kind of around the same place where Councillor Taufa's question was around, but it's more in terms of the capture of that data of the work program of drainage. Just in the last 2 weeks, I've been a part of the Tairawhiti workshop in regards to flooding, and there's much concern from the community around the maintenance of drains, and I don't believe that it's because those drains haven't been maintained. I believe there is no capture of data where the community can actually actually our drains were cleaned in just in the last 3 months, or they're on the schedule to be cleaned in the next 5 months, and I think that something really clear and concise would eliminate a lot of questions and confusions. It also makes it clear for councillors because as a rural councillor, I'm quite often approached with questions around draining and I know the words on how the cycle works, and within X amount of years we try to do X amount of drainage, but to have some sort of visual table or just to see when these drains have been completed and these are the next in the next six to 12 months, we're kind of anticipating on doing these things. It just makes addressing drainage concerns and drainage maintenance questions a lot easier. We can refer members of the public to a space where they can then access it and they can ask questions specifically in relation to the maintenance. So it's not directly related to what we have in front of us on the report, but thank you for the report and I am willing to move it. I'd just like to note that data and graphs and evidence to help support councillors in conversation, but also give clarity to members of the public.
Can I answer? I have prepared a comprehensive report on Tairāwhiti community to disseminate with the participants, and I have submitted it yesterday to Sarah. It should go today, and it's a comprehensive report with all the details. In 2024, we have done 97% of the drains in Western Tairāwhiti, and the balance 3% part of we couldn't do because gates were locked or the landowner didn't like, but 2% done by the leader brand in their areas. So it's almost 100%, 99% done, 24. But this year up to February, we have done 55% because until the complete work order is completed, it's not coming to the system. It's well documented, and we have done like every details are there, all the data, you can get it within seconds, and I have attached all these details in that report.
Yep.
Can I just supplementary? I totally appreciate all the work that goes into collecting that evidence and data and putting together those reports. I think what I'm asking for is some sort of simple table that just says, this is completed, these are our next targets, something simple and easy for our community to access and for us to use as evidence.
On the website too.
And on the website.
Just responding to that via the chair, thank you. We will take it upon ourselves to report back at the next committee on what we might be able to achieve in the near future on visibility of the data that we are capturing. Understand that that back end isn't managed presently for the public consumption. So see what might be aspirational, what might be achievable in the shorter term. So we'll take that on, Mangala, to provide maybe early tabular form in the future. It would be really nice if that was geospatial, but we don't want to commit to anything without first understanding the amount of work. A lot of the data we capture is actually available for that potential outcome, but getting it into a format that we don't know the amount of work that requires to get it to a format that is consumable by our community. We'd like to have some chance to work on that, please.
Thank you.
Councillor Alder.
Thank you.
And then Councillor Foster, then
It seems to be just an ongoing thing that we do not have enough money to do the jobs that we need to do, particularly in the productive sector, whether it's roading or drains. And I think back to that analogy I made about, I think it was a Roald Dahl book where the guy's sitting in a boat and he's getting hungry and he starts eating his toes. If this city wants to grow, we have to look after our productive sector, and we're not doing it. We need to have a conversation with the city who are subsidising the rural sector. And we need to check whether they're okay with that, to continue doing it, or do they want to start suffering more with the loss of productivity in our region? That, and we need to talk to the farming sector and ask them if they're prepared to pay more, and I think in most cases you'll find they are. And so through those two mechanisms, we need to empower our roading and drainage. I know that this isn't a roading subject, but that is part of our problem, so that we can increase the productivity of this region. And yeah, that's the core problem we're facing. Thank you.
Councillor Alder. Councillor Thompson.
You mentioned earlier it's about 25k per kilometre. How much extra distance do you reckon you'd get if we weren't double handling? Double that or more than double that?
It depends on the cross section of the channel. Like Makerere is a bigger one, so it's like 25,000 per kilometer is not a small drain. So we do more, like 15,000 medium drain and 10,000, like it costs 10,000 for a small drain. So it's like that. And if you, the question is, if you double.
So if you weren't double handling it, how much more productive would you be? Would you be twice as productive or even more than that if you weren't double handling it?
It's still the productivity influence of double handling the soil. I don't think we have, we don't have a hard metrics on that, Councillor Thompson.
So have you always been double handling, or is that something that's
it's a requirement now in our plan to...
So can you compare before you used to double handle and to now? It's just come in recently?
We can take that on board to get an indication of what the additional productivity costs are. One thing that wasn't amended when those changes came in was the amount of funding we requested from the communities. So the additional productivity, the reduction in productivity hasn't been matched with an increase in funding historically, which is why, and it just translates to a smaller amount of regrade per managed network.
It's just another example where they're adding things for us to do, but they never resource it, so you're still getting the same amount of money, but they're adding. So in reality, we're getting a lot less money because they never resource the things they're making us do, like consenting and health and safety and everything else. Then they never resource us for additional requirements they're making us do. Sort of the point on.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Foster.
Yeah, it's along similar lines actually. When I had 30,000 a kilometre or 25,000 a kilometre for drainage, I'm gulping, thinking, oh my goodness. So I mean, this is all contractor based. The contractors doing it. I mean, there's an opportunity to bring it in house and try and bring those costs down. Because this is something that we're going to be doing forever. And if we bring it in house, have our own machinery and own staff doing it, well then you can we could look at doing way more for way less. So yeah, I just got to see a lot of the stuff that we're doing. It's all contractor based, and that's fine out to community contractors, but at the same time, ratepayers want bang for buck.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Councillor Tupara.
I don't know if this is an urban myth or rural myth. If drains are, their key role is to preserve the road that runs alongside it rather than the properties. And the properties are second tier in importance.
I can answer that. The roadside drains typically are there to protect the road, and often commonly changes to land use have those land users often directing increased runoffs to the roadside drains, assuming that the roadside drains are for another purpose, a wider purpose, that the drains exist, but they are generally, they are there to keep the road pavement dry. We have this exact issue out at on Wainaki Road, where a few decades ago there wasn't the intensive orchards that exist now, and some of them are transitioning their drainage to the road, and then when that fails in an event, blaming the road drainage, the beneficiaries, if you're up changing land use, you are obliged to actually address the drainage yourselves. That could include the roadside drains as part of the solution, but that actually has to be planned and not just ad hoc developed, which has, and then sometimes you get in this conflict because these events only occur when they occur, and then where does the failure occur? Well, it occurs on the council asset, which is attached to the road. So there's sometimes that loop of story which might feed the urban myth. But roads need to keep themselves drained, so that utility that they have there, and often that's overwhelmed if there's land use change around it without proper planning and proper consents, and then the finger comes. But if you're lifting up your land use, it's on you to actually invest in getting the right sort of drainage for your property. That has not necessarily been happening uniformly, and we have these issues.
Alongside the change of land use, certainly us and some of our rural villages, given the influx of any housing projects alongside the road, some of those residents now, the character of that certainly changing with the number of homes, and the character of the community is getting younger, and in their enthusiasm to take better care of their new property, and their position there is to do the drains themselves. Do we have issues with communities undertaking some of this work, perhaps not to an excessive level, but to keep things tidy and to ensure that flow is occurring adjoining their properties?
That would depend on the circumstances of the scale and what plans that those individual properties are supposed to do in the stormwater requirements. Every single property will have a consent, and topping a consent when any new development happens is how it manages water. That is number 1, 2 and 3 of what is required when you develop land. And then everything else tiers under that. That's the most important element. So if it's consistent with what the consent for that property is, we don't have an issue with it. That's a great outcome. If it's inconsistent with it, then it could be an issue where the landowner's potentially at fault. I'm not pointing at Kiwi or any other community. It's just that any one building, property, driveways, different surfaces are going to affect how stormwater works in that. So if people have taken care of their properties, that's awesome. But we want it to be in line with the stormwater management plan.
So are there any other people that haven't had a thought that want to talk? Because I see some more second round questions. We'll start with Councillor Telfer and then Councillor Alder.
Yeah, I was just wanting clarification really. Is this requirement to double handle the spoil out of these drains, is that a national requirement, or is this a local requirement? I'm just wondering where this has come from.
It's a consenting requirement. When the consent is approved, that was a condition. The spoils should be cut out elsewhere and dump it at a approved dump site.
So yeah, but is this what I'm asking? Is this a national requirement, or is this from within this building requirement?
It's a consent condition, like
Yeah, so you're asking whether it's part of an NPS or an NES.
Yes, that's right.
And that if we're talking about removing spoil from a waterway site, for example, and you're transferring it somewhere, that will be a national requirement that we're giving effect through our unitary plan. On other just general spoil, I would have to check whether that's specific, but it's I get the sense that that will be a national requirement that we're giving effect to.
If you're transporting it somewhere else.
Councillor Alder.
Yeah, 2 points. One, commenting on that, but it is because of eels that we have to double handle, and we have to protect the eel. I'm just wondering, is it a local interpretation of the protection of eels that we're double handling?
no, that's a national standard.
Okay. Thank you. My question is page 77, point 9 on the aerial spraying consent, which is ready for submission but waiting for partners' approval. I'm just wondering what partners. I know the rural community up there have been canvassed, and wondering what the hold-up is and what the potential length of time that hold-up could be. Is there any way it could stop us from spraying next year? We've missed this year.
In fact, I have submitted, after this report preparation, I have submitted the consent application on the 10th without partners like treaty partners' approval. Pending that, because we got a strong letter from Tairāwhiti catchment group supporting the application. So we need some sort of, we have done consultations, but it ended up with no agreement. For the consenting team, it's not an internal one because of the conflict of interest, because external parties assessing that consent. So they need time to get external parties. In the meantime, we thought we could get treaty partners approval. So that aspect holding the consent, so they need their approval to go ahead with that.
So in answer to your question, do we believe we'll get approval by next year?
Next year, in case if the consent is granted, we definitely can do October rotation because some areas are in Anga, so we must do in October and November. So if the consent is granted, so that's conditional. If it is not granted, we have to do manual operation.
Yeah, can I just explain to everyone in the room what this is related to? It's related to aerial spraying, but use of drones. So previously we had consent ability to aerial spray with helicopters.
Yes.
Stands to reason that drones are a better outcome. We've just got to work through some elements with our partners. This is actually a really good story because we believe this has potential to be way more efficient, use less chemical and be way more targeted and effective than present hand spraying or helicopter spraying methods. But it's introduced the need for us to engage with our partners. I ask everyone not to be too frustrated with that because the overall gain will be, we hope, really positive. But this is just going through the gears of needing to get approvals. That's just simply what it is. We think it's really actually a positive story here, allowing us to manage our spray program more environmentally effectively and over a larger period for more efficiently. We think that's good. So we're positive about this.
If I may comment, and I'll be careful with my comment, but you know, we have allocated a fund to the TRI, and that fund is essentially jeopardised at this point. And that clearing those willows is crucial to that catchment.
Yes.
And you know, we rely on that happening. Arguably the most damage done during the flood was because of those willows. The cost of managing those willows is massive, unless we can get this new technology in there. So yeah, the importance is super high. And I thought we had approval with all parties. I'm surprised that we haven't.
Catch up with the catchment group.
We've got a catchment group. We've also got our, there's been just relationship issues we've been working through, and when questions come up, we need to give weight to those, but progress is sound, not as fast as we'd like.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for this paper. We have, does anyone would like to second this? Moved by Councillor, seconded by Councillor Parata. All in favour? Against? Carried. And that is the end of our Environment and Communities meeting today. Thank you, everybody, and we'll have a break before our first workshop.